Hello and happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to another Tuesday Night Live with independent Stampin' Up demonstrator Teresa Harper. I'm coming to you from Sheridan, Oregon. Hope everybody had a lovely day. It was a fairly warm day here. Much better than yesterday when it was scorching, and we have a nice breeze going right now here in town. So let's see if I can find my video. And there we go. Oops. Don't have the sound off on the laptop, but I do now, so we don't have to listen to me talk twice. All right. We'll wait a minute or two for someone to jump on. Go ahead and say hello when you arrive, so I know that you're here. And then we'll get started. Go ahead and switch these over here. All right. That looks about good. Okay. There we are. All right. Hello, hello. I see that there are two of you on. No one has commented, or it hasn't come across yet. Not sure which. So let's wait just a minute and see what happens. As you can tell, we're going to be using the vintage Christmas stamp set tonight. It coordinates with the vintage bottle punch. We're not going to be using the Bottled Happiness set, but these two are bundled together in the annual catalog. So if you wanted to, you could get the bundle, and that's on page 151, so you can purchase it either separately, the punch at $19, or the entire bundle, these two pieces, for $37.75. And then you will find on page 63 of the holiday catalog, the July to December mini, the vintage Christmas stamp set for $16. So if you pick both of those up together, you would have enough to earn a celebration item. So I'm going to go ahead and get these out of the way. Not 100% sure if we're using that punch. Can't remember on our second project. So just to let you know, hello Laura, the soft seafoam and pool party celebration cards and envelopes that are free with a $50 order, those have sold out. They're right here. They are sold out and no longer available. Remember that all of the items in the celebration brochure are while supplies last. So when our stock is gone, they'll be pulled from the offering. All right. So at this point, I looked just before I went on, and the only thing that was sold out is the soft seafoam and pool party envelopes. So I didn't check the low inventory status to see what was on low inventory. It's been kind of a busy day here. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started with our first card. We're going to start with a card base in crushed curry. We've got a piece of early espresso, which is cut at 4 by 5 1/4, and I have already run this through the time worn texture embossing folder, and this is what that looks like. Okay, so we've got that piece. And then we're going to use a sentiment from Hello Harvest that says, "You are such a blessing." So I've got that pulled out. And then we'll also be using the Rustic metallic dots. These you will find in the annual catalog. We'll need a piece of the Painted Christmas Designer Series paper, and that is on page 29 of the mini. You might already have some of that from last Christmas season. However, it is a returning fave and is on page 29 of the holiday catalog. You're going to need a piece of basic white that is cut at 2.5 by 3 1/4. And this is going to be our focal image. Okay. Then you'll need a piece of basic white that's cut at 3/4 by 2.5. That's for our sentiment. And then we need a piece of basic white for the inside that is 3 5/8 by 4 7/8. Okay. So let's go ahead and get our stamping done. So this is a photopolymer set, and I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Pierce mat. And I'm going to start with my flower image from the Vintage Christmas. And we're going to use crushed curry ink to start with. We've got early espresso, shaded spruce, and a little bit of crumb cake for the inside layer. Okay, so let's start with the crushed curry. And hopefully I stamp these where I want them. Hello, Jennifer. Okay, let's get my sample up here just so I can try to get these where I want them. Okay, and then I'm going to turn this around and stamp that again in the opposite corner. Right? So if you were stamping your envelope and your inside, you would want to go ahead and stamp those flowers right now. I'll give you a little tip on this though. When I was stamping my inside piece to make sure that I got my flowers where I wanted them, I took the base of my bottle here from the vintage bottle, and then I took a pencil and I just put a little pencil dot right where I wanted the top of that bottle to be, so I'd make sure to put my flowers where I wanted them. Okay? Just a little tip for you there. And then you would also stamp the flowers on your envelope. All right, so we've got those. We can be done with the crushed curry. And we're going to move on to the early espresso. And I'm going to take the stamp that has the flower centers and 3 pine cones. So there's 3 flower centers, 3 pine cones. I'm going to ink that up in early espresso. And then I'm going to line this up with my 3 center flower centers right in the center of my flower. Let's see if I can do this through the camera. I'm going to stamp that down. And then I'm going to flip it. And I'm going to do that again. Okay. I got this one a little bit higher than I like, but that's all right. We'll make it work. All right, and finally, we're going to move on to shaded spruce. Now I'm going to get a little tricky on the shaded spruce because I want just some flower. I'm going to take the fern with the hollyberry, or the bough with the hollyberries. I'm going to stick this in the corner of my ink pad, and I'm just going to ink up the leaf, okay, or the bough. And then I'm going to put this in here. I could mask this off, but I find if I ink this just right, I don't need to. So I'm going to do that one. And I'm going to go over here and put it right there on this one. And then I'm going to take this cluster of leaves from that vintage set, and I'm just going to ink up this one little sprig here. And if I carefully put that on my ink pad, I can get that right where I want it. And if I get a little bit extra of the green, I'm okay. I'm just going to stamp that down. Then I'm going to repeat that. Now you could mask this off with a piece of Post-it tape. Depending on how picky you want to be. I'm just winging it. And then I'm just going to repeat the steps on the opposite flower. Okay. All right. So there is our focal image. All right. Let's clean up this stamp real quick so I don't get ink everywhere. I've been having quite a bit of trouble with that shaded spruce wanting to spread everywhere. Okay, so we've got that. Now we can start assembling this card. This is a pretty simple card to put together once you get all that stamping done. So we're going to fold our crushed curry card base. That is 5.5 by 8.5. And to that, I'm going to add this 2" by 4" piece of the Painted Christmas paper with the pine cones. And remember, I've embossed that with the time worn, so I need to make sure that my letters are right side up. And then I'm just going to put this down. I'm going to put it just below center. And this sketch layout was actually a mystery card challenge. But I really liked how simple it made everything. Okay, then we're going to go ahead and add this piece to our crushed curry card base, and I'm doing that with liquid glue because I like to do that when I've got when I've got embossing folders. I just find that the liquid glue spreads out and sticks better than the tape runner. Then I like to open up my card on the inside, use my bone folder, and spread out that glue. Okay, so there we go. Oh, hello, Henry. Thank you for sharing, Jennifer. All right. Hope you had a good day at Grandma's house, Henry. All right, so now with this, we're just going to take this. We're going to add this piece, and I'm going to add it to the left here with some Stampin' Dimensionals. You could put it on flat if you wanted. And then pop up your sentiment. I'm going to pop this piece up because that was actually the card sketch. And hopefully you can see that if I'm not out of camera. Okay. So I'm just going to give that a press in the center with my thumbnail. Pop up those release papers. And I can grab a hold of all of those. I'm going to take this. And I'm going to put it a little bit to the left or to the right. Just like that. And then we're going to stamp our sentiment next. And we are using You Are Such a Blessing. And again, that's from the Hello Harvest. That is also in the July to December mini catalog. You could use any sentiment you wanted that you have on hand. And this is a 2.5 by 3/4 inch strip of paper. I'm just going to set that down. I might have over inked that. Let's flip it over and see what we get. Got it pretty dark. I think I pressed too hard. Overstamped it. All right. That looks much better. Now I can see the, here you can tell you can't see the lines in the letters that are supposed to be there. Okay, so for this now, we're going to add this to our card, and we're going to put it about right here. But before I do that, I'm going to add a bit of Stampin' Seal Plus to the back of this and hope it doesn't rip my paper. And then I'm going to grab some linen thread. And let's see. I'll start this over here. I'm going to go this way. I'm just going to wind this back and forth a couple of times for a few loops. And press that into that Stampin' Seal. Okay. All right. Now, is that going to be the way I wanted it? Yes. Okay. Now I can snip that off. And then I'm going to take a couple of glue dots because I don't want to pop it up a whole nother level of dimensional so that it would be double. So I'm going to try and compensate a little bit for the back side of the width of my linen thread. So I'm going to double stack my glue dots only on the edges. And then I'm going to go ahead and press that into my card. Snip off that extra thread I don't like. There we go. And then I'm just going to line this up edge to edge. Straighten that out. Give that a press. All right, now let's grab those rustic metallic dots. And we're going to put one here. That's a small one. Then I'm going to put a large one here. And then I'm going to grab another large one. And I'm going to put it right over here in a triangle. Okay. So that is the front of our card. Now for the inside, I did that same technique again, but once I got the flower stamped, I took a mask, which I've already cut out, and as you can see with my mask, I cut it just inside the lines. I put it on top of this so you can see that it's not the exact same size. It's a little bit smaller. This is using our Stampin' Up masking paper. And then I just put this down in here like so. Line that up. And then I inked up my bottle in crumb cake, which now I don't see what I did with it. Oh, here it is. I inked it up in crumb cake and then I stamped it down. And then when I removed my mask, it looks like my flowers are coming out of the bottle. Okay? So now this is ready for the inside of our card. So we're going to go ahead and add that in. And that is the first card. All right. And here is the matching envelope. And on the back, I took that sprig bough and then just inked up one of the pine cones from that trio and stamped the flap. All right, we are ready to move on to project number 2. Let me clean up a bit. I don't think I need any of these ink pads, so I'm going to go ahead and get those out of our way. But I thought doing this way, it shows you that it doesn't, even though it says Vintage Christmas, it doesn't have to be a Christmas set. Just by changing the color of the flowers and adding a little fallish looking DSP, we've got ourselves a nice fall card for just about any occasion we want it to be. All right. So let's move on to project number 2. It will also use the Vintage Christmas, and we will be using our masks for this card. All right. So this card starts with a basic white thick card base. I took a piece of, oh, I forgot to grab those. I took a piece of Mary Merlot, and it's cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And then to save a little bit of paper, I cut the inside piece with the deckled rectangle. So now I've got just a mat that won't add a lot of weight to our card. To that, we're going to add a piece of the Sun Prints Designer Series paper. And that you will find in the annual catalog. And this is that pack of paper. I forgot to show you the painted Christmas paper, but it's all right. So this is the Sun Prints. You get 2 each of 6 double-sided designs. Okay, and you'll find that in the annual catalog. And then for the inside, I've got a piece of Mary Merlot, and this one is cut at, what did I cut this one at? 3 3/4 by 5. And then I've got a piece of the basic white, just the regular thickness, 3 5/8 by 4 5/8. Okay. That'll be for our inside piece. And then we have a scrap to stamp on, and we've got our focal image, which is 3 by 4 1/4. Nope, 3 by 4. 3 by 4. Is that supposed to be 3 by 4 1/4? Nope, it isn't. Okay, I just had to double check myself. All right, we can go ahead and layer these pieces, these 3 pieces together. So we don't need to do anything else to those. So we'll take our bone folder and give that a nice crisp edge so it'll lay flat. And then we'll add our Designer Series paper to our frame. I'm going to grab my silicone mat here. And then I'm going to add this to the Mary Merlot. And now you can't even tell that I cut out the center on that. And then we'll go ahead and add some more Stampin' Seal to the edges so this will stick down. And we'll add it to our basic white. Whoa. Alright, I was being a little persnickety there. Mary Merlot. Okay, so there is the start of our card. Alright. Now we'll take our 3 by 4 piece. And again, I'm going to stamp on this scrap piece in Night of Navy ink. Grab my Stampin' Pierce mat. I'm going to ink that up. Almost looks like well, I'm going to go with it. It's good enough. And I'm going to stamp that down. Looks like I've got some more than one. Piece of lint or something. My stamp does have a little indentation in it, so I am getting a spot from the indentation, but that was too many spots. So we'll just stamp that down again. Okay, now we're ready for that piece. Now, unfortunately, there is no die for this particular bottle. So we're going to have to fussy cut this. But it's a very simple shape, so it doesn't take but a half a minute. And I want to show you, because I'm putting the flowers in the top, I don't want a white border at the top. So I'm leaving a very thin white border around the rest of the bottle, but at the top I'm cutting it right on the line. That way when I add the flowers, they will look like they were a piece of the bottle. Okay, so we've got that. Let's go ahead and bring in our focal image, our 3x4 piece. So I want my bottle to end up about right here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, take my pencil, and I'm just going to put a little dot right here so that I know where to stamp my flowers. So I'm going to take that same batch of Mary Merlot flowers, or flowers that I used on the last card. I'm going to take some Mary Merlot ink this time. And I'm going to stamp this down. Hopefully in the center. Okay. Then I'm going to grab some soft suede ink. And I'm going to use those flower centers that I had again, or before. And I'm going to add those in. Lining up those centers the best that I can. And this would be a good use of your Stamparatus, especially if you have your camera right in your face. Not very happy with that. Let me turn that over. I want to do that again. I am not happy with that. Okay, so let's put that there. Get that Mary Merlot. Okay. And now the soft suede. Let's see if I bring this closer to me. I think you'll still be able to see, but I can see better. There we go. That's so much better. All right. Just have to bring it closer to my eyeballs. Okay. So now I need those masks. Well, actually, I only need one. I'm going to grab the mask. And I'm going to add this mask. I'm just going to put it down here. And line those up. And remember, they are smaller than the actual image. And the reason that we do that, so that we have a little bit showing, is that when we add our other images in, we won't end up with a halo, a white spot. Okay, so now we'll take that greenery stamp, and we're going to get the garden green. I'm going to ink that up. And again, let me bring this to me. I'm going to stick this up here like so. Okay. And then I'm going to take that cluster, and this time I don't need to be careful because I've already masked my image. So this time I'm just going to ink this up, and then I'm going to place this here. And here. And I don't have to be so careful. If you mask it, you don't have to worry. Okay? So now we can go ahead and take off our mask. And I just use a little spatula tool. Now when I first cut this mask, the masking paper that Stampin' Up! Carries is very sticky, so I stuck it on my pant leg a couple of times just to take some of the sticky off so it wouldn't rip my paper. I highly suggest that. Okay, so now we've got this, and we're ready to add our bottle. Okay, so we're going to take our bone folder, and I'm going to give this bottle a little bit of a curve on the edges because I want to give this an illusion that it actually has some depth. Okay? So when I add this, I'm going to take a couple of mini dimensionals and I'm going to stick them down the center of my bottom. Now that's too funny. I almost got those perfect back to back when I stamped those. Okay, so I'm going to stick one here and one here. And then I'm going to take my liquid glue. I'm going to remove these backings so I don't have to worry about them later. I'm going to take a tiny bead of liquid glue. I can get the glue to come out, and I'm just going to run it along the edge here, on the sides, at the very bottom, and on the other side, just to give it the illusion that it really is rounded. So I'm going to secure these edges with the liquid glue, and I'm keeping the center puffed up to give it dimension. Okay, and then I'm just going to stick this down like this. And then I like to take my bone folder and give that a little bit of a press. And just run my bone folder along there and hold that in place. I'm going to slowly work my way all the way around. Giving that glue a chance to grab and hold. And then when I get done, I have a bottle that is rounded. I don't know if you can tell that or not, but that's what we have. Okay? So, what we need to do now is we're going to add this piece to our card base, and we're just going to do that with some Stampin' Seal. Okay. Just going to try and put that centered a little bit, and I did turn this over so I have just a little bit of a lip from where my trimmer originally cut my paper. So I'm going to take my bone folder, I'm going to go all the way around I'm going to push that lip down on that cut edge. Okay, so now it's all nice and flat, and you can't tell that's the cut side. Okay, so we have three things left to do. We're going to take a piece of linen thread, and I'm going to use my bow jig. I'm going to tie myself a double bow. Cut that off. And I'm going to go under and over, and then I'm going to go through and tie a knot. And I think I had my original bow a bit bigger, and I think I like that better, so we're going to try that again. I'm going to go with the second holes rather than that smaller one that I had. I like the larger bow on this one better. So we'll save that bow for another project. Cut that off. And again. Let's go here. And here. We'll tie that up into a knot, making sure that I'm in the center. Okay, there we go. Now we can be happier with that bow. And then I'm going to take a glue dot. I'm going to roll that up with my Take Your Pick tool. I'm just going to take the tip of my Take Your Pick tool and roll that up into a little knot. And then I'm going to put it right on that white line from the bottle. And then I'm going to press my bow right into that glue dot. And trim my ends even. And I might trim them even further, we'll see. Okay, so the only thing left for the front of this card then is a little bit of bling and a sentiment. So from that same stamp set, we're going to take the Happy Holidays little round circle. And we need that scrap of white that we have. And we're going to take the soft suede ink again. Bring back out that Stampin' mat, because it's really important on this one. Okay, so this is a solid image. And the only tip I have for you on these is don't press too hard. Just set it down. Very, very light pressure. Hold it for about 5 seconds. And then you should have a nice image. If you press too hard, you will end up splotching up your stamp. Okay, so I'm going to take a retired 3/4 inch stamp because I didn't want to cut that out. And I'm just going to punch this out with my punch. And if you don't already own one of these, you could get one on Amazon or the local craft store, I'm sure. Or you might be able to find a small enough circle die. The Layer in Circles dies do not have one small enough. So for this now, we're just going to take this and I'm going to put, no, I used glue dots again. I used the glue dots because I didn't want to use a mini dimensional and double stack my height. So we're just going to take this now, put it right here in the center on top of those mini glue dots, and center that bottle. And the final touch for this is to find what I did with those rustic metallic adhesive back dots again. And for these now, we're going to take and put our adhesive back dots in the center of our flowers. So I'm going to use the large one on the large flower, and then I'm going to use small here and a small right here. And I think that really sets off the centers of our flowers. All right, so there is the front of our card. Now for the inside of our card, I took a piece of the basic white, and I did second generation stamping of the large bottle from the stamp set. And then I used that greenery stamp again, and I just put 1, 2, and 3. And then I used my Wink of Stella brush and a little bit of the ink from, I put a little bit of ink on a block, and then I used the Wink of Stella to color that in. And finally stamped it with a Very Merry Christmas to You in the soft suede ink over the top, and that also is from that Vintage Christmas, and that will complete the inside of our card. So we can put that in. Add that. And finally, for our envelope, we've taken and stamped that flower in Mary Merlot, put in the flower centers, and then just masked off those boughs for the bottom in the garden green. Okay, so let's go ahead and bring back in our first project. I hope you've enjoyed those tonight. And okay, there we go. So these are our projects that we made this evening. Oh, that's what I forgot to do on the inside. Hang on, you guys. Let's see if I can fix that. Let's see. When you're trying to remove, lift and then twist, and that will break your adhesive. Okay. I forgot that I had taken a piece of the Mary Merlot and again cut out the center. And I'm going to add this to the Mary Merlot without adding the weight again. And this is a very thin border. Okay. And then we can add this. All right, that makes a difference on the inside of our card. I really liked the way that was striking. Come on. Okay, there we go. Much better. All right. Okay. Let's see. Let me hang on just a second. I am going to check really quickly to see where we're at on the low inventory. Give me just 1 minute, and I will see if we have anything there as far as the celebration items. We do not have anything on anything else on low inventory, just the soft seafoam and pool party ribbons. So I'll be back next week on Tuesday, and at this point I plan to show you a bunch of cards I made using this same sort of layout, using the Wonderful World stamp set and paper from the Celebration catalog. So right now my plan is to do some cards and a box for the cards, or some sort of storage for the cards. So we'll see how far we get. I already have 4 cards designed, so I just need to make the box, and we will see you back here next week. Same time, same place. Thank you for the hearts and the thumbs up. I appreciate that. All right, everybody. So glad you enjoyed those parties. Oh, hello, Cynthia and Lynette. I see you guys have joined. I'm sorry, my comments did not scroll, but I am scrolling now. Thank you, thank you. All right, Henry, I hope you have a wonderful night with Grandma, and I hope to see you all very soon. Thank you. Good night.